What is up, everybody? This is the Owl Recap, a show focused on covering the news, matches, and results of the Overwatch League. I am your host, Andres, aka I Play Games, and today we're starting out the new week, the new stage, always and as always joined by the beautiful Mel. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Great to hear. And as always, the charismatic Bob. How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing awesome. Excited for this coming week of Overwatch League.
Absolutely. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of mystery in the air, a lot of anticipation for this stage. I think that a lot of people are looking forward to this stage because it's probably going to be one of the biggest shakeups in meta that we have seen in the Overwatch League. Right now, there's also a lot of uncertainty just because up until this point, we just haven't been able to hear exactly on what patch we are going to be able to see the Overwatch League happen, but we'll get more into that later. To get us started, though, we want to go into some news. Let's go into the nitty gritty. Expansion slots for Overwatch League are expected to be priced around $30 million to $60 million. So definitely going up in price. The people who got in first got the good deal of 20 million, but as expected, with the success of Overwatch League and the numbers they've been able to gather, it's turning out to be a safer investment for a lot of other people. So a lot of these prices are gonna go up. They did say a few caveats. This is all coming from sources from ESPN, an article that they released. But they're saying that depending on the location, the amount of people that are fans of Overwatch League, and the potential to create a fan base is how the prices are gonna fluctuate. So all that makes sense. They also said that if there's several bidders for an area, the price might go up as they decide who is gonna take that area in particular. So I'm hoping that they bring something to Atlanta, something to Georgia. I really want that team over here. I know that you guys are rooting for a Kansas team as well. We'll see if it happens.
A Missouri team, Kansas City, Missouri.
Missouri
Or
team.
like Chicago, somewhere close.
Anything close?
Yep. Yeah,
Absolutely.
I mean, actually having an arena in Dallas would be pretty cool too. That'd be pretty close to
Hey,
drive.
I'd be happy with
No.
Dallas. I'd be happy with Dallas. I can do that.
Can we do Houston instead? Don't make me go to the Dallas games. Come on.
My guess, though,
Houston's hotter.
that's true right there. My guess, though, is that a lot of these expansion slots are gonna go overseas, at least in the beginning. I know that a lot of their aims are set to Europe. They want to do a couple more teams over there. Having only London feels a little lonely. Poor London is the only representation from Europe, and as well, one of the biggest markets in the world, Asia. China, Korea, Japan. There's a huge fan base of gamers over there, and I'm sure that Blizzard wants to capitalize on that section of the world. So I wouldn't be surprised if they push their initial expansion towards those areas, since the US in general, for the rest of the world, is pretty well populated.
Definitely.
Alrighty, guys, let's move on into a couple other things. Blizzard right now is discussing including the new Hanzo changes for the map, as we mentioned at the top of the show. I think that they initially had set up their mind and they had decided that the new patch was going to be played without the new Hanzo, which means that the Overwatch League would have been played in a patch that was only live for about 2 days with Brigitte, but no Hanzo changes. There was a huge backlash from the community. If you guys have been part of any of the Reddit discussions or forums or even Twitch in some places, Twitter, a lot of the community has been a little bit outraged. They don't want the Overwatch League to happen on a patch that is basically obsolete. People want to see the pro players playing on the same patch that people are playing in the live competitive server. And it makes sense, right? Because a lot of the reason why Overwatch League is appealing to gamers is because it sets the standard of gaming, and it's almost like a teaching tool, right? Much like soccer or football, a lot of the fans who go to those games and watch the games are also people who play the sports themselves and like seeing how these people are pushing the envelope of their skills and stuff. What do you guys think about going into stage 4 in the previous patch?
Well, it just comes at a awkward time is basically the problem with it. She gets released into season 10 of normal comp. She's immediately seen as kind of a problem. They immediately start working on PTR. Then they release Hanzo just like right after that. They release the Hanzo changes, and then it just kind of like Brigitte was already in the patch prior, but she wasn't in comp. So it's not really that fast that she's going in. It's just that fast for comp. And so I see the awkward timing that they're working with, but the problem remains that it's going to drastically change the way the game's played in all of stage 4. It's going to be way way different than what we're playing, and I agree that that's bad. It's pretty normal for them to be behind is the only thing.
It's normal for them to be behind in esports, I think, but I think the problem is that they've made it very clear that they're going to do almost everything they can to not patch mid-stage, right? So if we don't get Hanzo in the beginning of stage 4, we don't get Hanzo at all. And it's the last stage, right? So you're not going to get any Overwatch League play with Hanzo in the meta till season 2. And I
And
think I just think that's unacceptable. I think that they can, if they don't want to patch him in right away, that's fine, but patch him in mid-stage or something and let the teams know that at the beginning. Say we're going to work out some more kinks over the next 2 weeks. I think it's interesting that Brigitte came out and 1 week into comp is already getting nerfs. She's been out in quick play for how long, and they didn't do anything to her because I don't think they got the same information. So now they're nerfing her, and I think that scares them a little bit about the Hanzo.
well, and
Definitely.
Hanzo is completely changing this meta. The same exact thing happened with Sombra changes that happened, and she went through stage 2 without the changes we had on live. She still was a health pack buffer and ultimate user. That was all she was then. We went the whole stage playing her differently, but she didn't change. The meta didn't change just to support her so hard on live, whereas it has with Hanzo. He's basically the top DPS now across almost all SR ranges. So I think that's why it's weird.
Yeah, and I think that you hit the nail on the head right there, because if this had been any other change, like if this had been the Tracer Pulse Bomb does 100 less damage against heroes, right? People couldn't have cared less. They would have been like, okay, sure,
Yep.
doesn't matter. But this is a game changer patch, right? This is completely different meta. We've seen the repercussions on the ladder, and it's not just hype. Like, I could see maybe some hyperbole being thrown at Brigitte and Hanzo every now and again, but it's definitely not just hype from people or over talking these heroes. They're definitely changed, and they're morphing the meta a lot, like quite a bit. Like triple support has becoming a thing. Hanzo, like you said, is one of the top performers DPS wise. His damage output is insane right now, and even though some people are still non-believers, you can't deny that Hanzo is in almost every game, and it feels good having a Hanzo. It's not like unless a Hanzo is really bad, but most of the time when you have a Hanzo, it's like, okay, yeah, I can live with this.
Well, and it's even pushed you to start playing a character that you've never really played.
Hanzo is the one DPS that has been the least played by me. I've enjoyed playing all the other DPS. I even have the basic spray on Hanzo. That's how little I play him. But yeah, recently I've been playing him and I've been doing decently well. I definitely, my aim could use some work for sure, but he feels like a strong DPS. I don't feel completely useless as I would feel sometimes before.
And I think that's why the community is so up in arms.
Well, that and they're not putting in the new Brigitte change from what we've heard. Now, again, I think all of this we should mention is speculation because I think there was such a big outcry that Blizzard is discussing the potential of putting Hanzo in or putting the Brigitte change in. I'm not sure how much validity there is to that, but we will find out by Wednesday.
Yeah, we will definitely know. I know that they are definitely in a discussion. So far it's looking like the pressure to add the Hanzo might work. We can't say anything for sure, but there's a big chance that we will see the Hanzo coming either close to the beginning of the stage, if not right at the beginning of the stage. So there's still time to know. And we so far we've been talking from the perspective of the viewers and the fans, I believe. But we also have to go the other way around, right? Like we also have to know the reasonings why they're doing this. And a big part of it is because they don't want to release an untested product into their main competitive outlet where they want to have a little bit more control. They want to be able to have their players play the heroes and get used to them so that when they come out and play with the heroes, they can do a good performance, right? You don't want them to come out and fumble all of the arrows and be completely unimpressive. You want the pros to look like pros, basically. So you
Yep.
can see it from their side as well. I think in this one, they might just have to come to a middle ground with the community because I don't think that the backlash would be too much. And they might actually lose a bit of viewership from this one.
I don't know. I'm super excited. I mean, with or without the Hanzo change, I'm super excited.
I am too, but I do see the issue of us not being able to see what it looks like in competitive play at all for stage 4. I think that's where we're guiding. And I think if they said again it was going to be a week or 2 weeks and they'd consider changing it, then I think people would back off.
Dang it. I don't know if I should yell at the Hanzo in my comp game for being a troll or if I should praise him. Sorry, I
Yeah,
had
basically,
to.
we just want to know how to play our comp games, okay? So
Teach us.
you could
Teach
show
us,
us.
Overwatch League. Alrighty, that'll do it for that discussion. I guess it's been an ongoing discussion. We'll see. We'll have the answer by this Wednesday as we will see what actual patches they're playing in. To close out the news, though, we have two more pieces over here. The All Access Pass, this one's a short one. Will no longer be in preview for Stage 4. So those people that already purchased it and have it, you'll still have access to the control room, all that stuff. You've been enjoying it. If you haven't gotten the pass, then it's your chance to do so to keep enjoying it. What do you guys think of the pass so far? We've had some time to try it. Do you guys watch it in the normal view? Do you guys watch it in the control room view? What's the deal here?
I watched it in the normal view. They did add a different view to the All Access Pass. I know that. So it's not what I wanted. I wanted the overhead view, but they just added a like overhead, not the little icon one, just kind of another third person view instead of
Yeah,
an
I've seen
overhead
it.
view.
It's just like a different angle, like a overview of the battlefield, just like a cam overlooking it. I
Right.
know what you're talking about. To be honest, I agree with you guys. It's rather underwhelming. I mean, it wasn't like it costed that much anyway, but it is a little bit underwhelming. Hopefully they can iterate on it a little bit. I think that the things that you get to see are not as compelling as you would like him to be. So I do find myself reverting to the regular view as well, just so I can appreciate it in full screen view and catch as many details as possible. Because Overwatch is it's a hard game to watch, honestly. So the bigger, the better. If you're watching in a tiny little square, it's just hard to discern a lot of the detail in the game.
Right.
Yeah, and what I've found, like, what I found most of all is I just wish that overhead view I could just have full screen on another monitor. And I did try to size it to see if I could make that happen, like have the other like off to the side, but it just I can't get it to work. So if I could just have that, I would prefer that because I'm always gonna be at least watching the main screen with my main monitor. So it would just be nice to have a little bit more data on the side, like have one, like I've got two extra monitors. So one of them with, all the players' ultimates and what player they are, kind of like what they have over their heads at the arena itself, something like that. And then on the other one, have like an overhead view and be able to glance at that, but put most of my attention on the main screen.
You know,
However, the AMAs are part of that though too.
That's
And
what I
those
was
have
gonna
been
say.
really
The
cool.
AMAs, I
the
think, are
AMAs have
the
been cool.
good part about it. I think you get some good coverage and you get a little bit more in-depth interviews with them. Not that I ask questions during those, but it's still entertaining to hear. Just a note, they are having Mickey, Muma, Badozan, and Ryu Jaehong this week for the
Ooh,
AMAs.
very cool.
So
I do
if
like
that
those
interests you.
AMAs. They give you a little insight into the personalities of the players and their team dynamics. You can ask a few more questions. So those have been pretty cool. I do agree that the All Access Pass is cool because of that. Hopefully they
And
do some more of that.
and also, Mel was one of the handful of people, one of the only handful of people to ever ask a question live on the AMA.
Oh, that's right. You had the opportunity in
Yep.
the Overwatch League.
Didn't get roasted too bad either. So which is typically not
Twitch
kind.
chat forgave you. Yeah, especially not to women sometimes.
Well, they did like Adam from Action Esports, though.
Who doesn't like Adam from Action Esports?
Shout out to Adam from Action Esports here. Free plug, buddy. Let's move to the recent bans that have been issued lately because this was another topic of controversy here. Recently, Blizzard banned the shirts for Philadelphia University, which abbreviated to FU. Just two letters right in the front, FU. Unfortunately, for a lot of us in the gaming community, we know what FU stands for. And not only in the gaming community, just in general.
Fudge unicorns.
Exactly. Thank you, Bob. But basically, the shirts were banned, and the acronym has been changed to FUN. So it now spells fun. Not only that, but there's a few words that have been exclusively banned from Twitch chat during the OWL broadcast. And those are Climax, which is also the name of an OWL player, Monka S, and LMAO. No longer can you use those words on Twitch chat. What do we think of this, guys? Is it going too far? Are we getting too PC here? Is Blizzard doing too much, or is this a good direction?
They've gone too far. They've gone too far. I mean, I will agree that the tactical crouch, aka teabagging, I will agree that I think that's kind of like rude because it's a sexual act that you would go to jail for any other time. But the profanity and acronyms, I don't care, man. I mean, come on. It was funny when I saw the shirts. I wanted to buy one right then.
It's worth noting that they are selling the t-shirts right now for a very high price, and they are selling very well. So if you want to get them, they're there.
Do you remember the 7-Up campaign in like the early 2000s where he's like, make 7, and then the back of his shirt said, up yours. And he's like, showed it to everybody, and they're like, up yours, you know, and like, but it's just, I mean, that's the first time I remember something like that, and I thought it was funny. I think they're going too far.
I agree that maybe it's gone a little bit too far, but you also have to understand that they're trying to build a culture here, and they're trying to build a name, and they're trying to mold it into something that maybe they don't have to be so strict on later on, right? But if they let certain things like this slide, then Overwatch esports becomes a meme instead of a serious, legitimate sport, you know? And you have to think these kids that are going into the Overwatch League, ideally, are young children who are they telling about this? Their parents, right? So you have to get parent buy-in. And if you want to get parent buy-in, you can't say, oh, they're going to call me FU every day on the Twitch chat, you know, or like, and that's what I'm saying is like, you have to look at the big, broader picture here that you don't just have to get little 14-year-old buy-in. You have to get their parents to say, okay, gaming is a legitimate path for you. I accept this. I accept you doing this, no, you can't be called, your username can't be this, you know? And if it doesn't come from their parents, they're more likely to abide. And then later on, a username gets through and it's not as big of a deal because it's not everyone.
I don't know.
Okay, so my opinion for this topic in particular is I do agree with you, Mel. They have to set a standard, and to set a standard, they're gonna have to impose certain rules. What I'm thinking though is that the rules they're trying to impose are gonna be a little bit too hard for them to keep imposing in the future, like banning words like LMAO, which, to be honest, is a completely harmless acronym,
I
but
agree.
just the way that Twitch chat sometimes uses it can be a little annoying, or it can rustle a few feathers here and there to a few people, right? But at the end of the day, you're not really trying to offend anyone with it. It's
But
like a joke. It's kind of like the Jake Lul thing that started a while ago. It might have been a little bit annoying for Jake, but at the end of the day, this
Right.
happens in life in general, right? Like people will poke fun at you
I mean, you can
from
poke
all
fun with
walks
any
of life.
word is the
Right,
problem. And, you
exactly.
know, the only reason that that word is getting banned is because of the way that people are using it right now, just like they're going to start using another word in the same context to
Exactly.
replace it. And so it's not necessarily solving the problem, it's trying to remove a behavior and not giving them an effective alternative behavior to replace it with. And I think that's the issue, is that this is what they want to do. If you take away these words, they're just going to find new words that have the same meaning to all of them, and you're just going to have to keep taking away words until you give them a more effective way to get out what they want to get out. And I think Twitch chat is very difficult to do that. You know,
it's
and
it's a double standard, though. I mean, McCree has a belt buckle that says "Bamf," badass mother. Beep. Yeah, like
or
that's in the
it
game.
could mean
Jeff
beautiful.
Kaplan came out at BlizzCon and said Moira is OPAF,
And that
overpowered
and that's
as.
a and that's a good
As
point
friends.
too, because we all know that in the right context, a lot of these acronyms and stuff can be really fun, and people can get very excited for them, right? And like you said, Mel, like trying to fight these words is like the war on drugs, right? Like you can put a million police officers out there, bust a million crime rings, and the next one just sparks up like around the corner. So it's like, I don't know, running against the stream, right? Like you're trying to climb uphill, and it's not gonna be a winning battle for Blizzard here. So I think that their hearts are set in the right direction. They want to make this league the best that it can be, but definitely understanding Twitch chat, the culture around it, and being able to rein in that beast is gonna be something that they might have to learn to do a little better, because so far it's not working out very well for both sides.
Well, and I think the Twitch chat bans are a little farther than they can reach, right? I think that's just not something that they can or should effectively monitor. It's just too hard. But I think the team names and the FU, I mean, come on. Like, don't tell me they didn't put that on their jersey and giggle. Like, they're like,
Heck yeah,
look
they
at
did.
that.
Mission accomplished.
Okay,
Right.
Mission accomplished.
that one out of all those things that they banned this week, I could see a reasonable explanation behind that, and that one makes the most sense. But the other words and stuff, I don't know. I think that those are going a little bit too far beyond.
If you could have a college team named the Cox, then I don't see a problem with this.
I'm just saying, like, the team or the player names, I think probably got banned because it was only one Climax got banned, because he probably came out with something stupid and said something really stupid about his player name and brought a lot of attention to himself, or I don't think anybody would have thought anything of it. You know what I mean?
No, I think you are underestimating
Yeah, I think
Twitch chat
so.
over here. I think the second that Climax came on stage and they saw their name, it started right there.
Okay, fair enough.
But who doesn't? I mean, it's a happy word. I mean, I think
Yeah. I don't
everybody
think anybody complains about that
everybody
one.
on Earth can agree it is a happy word. Why we're scared of it in the US, I don't know, but they are not scared of it overseas in Europe.
All right.
Yeah.
That this discussion won't get too far. Honestly, we just kind of to bring it up and give our own personal opinions. At the end of the day, this is their league, and they will choose to manage it however they choose. But I think as a community, we at least have to let it known when they might be pushing too far, because I think we definitely gotta come to an agreement here on what we're allowed to do and we're not allowed to do. And Blizzard, even though they're having to tighten the rope a little bit lately, I feel like they've tightened a little too far. All right, guys, couple of team changes coming for stage 4. Actually, just one. We know for a fact that Effect will not be returning for stage 4. It seems like the guy is going through some really rough times right now. From some of the tweets that he has posted, it sounds like his mental health is not in the best state right now. And to be honest, it's better for him and for everyone to take a little break, gather back his bearings, and see how he wants to proceed forward. I think that being in another country, in a foreign culture, playing with people that you are not particularly familiar with, and which so much on the line can put a lot of pressure on these young people. And I definitely think that Effect is feeling the effects of that pressure. And it's just better for his own personal sake to chill down a bit, I feel.
Hasn't he been here playing though with the team for longer than just Overwatch League?
In tournaments, though, tournaments are short.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think I was really hard on him when he first started, or when he first did this in stage 3. But from recent tweets and different things that he said on streams, different things that have been captured, it really seems like he's got some stuff that he really does need to work out. So I hope that he gets help, and I I I don't know. I just hope that he gets help. Some people handle stress better than others, and I'm sure there's going to be more that have this same problem. We're seeing lots of coaches have it too. So
I
I'm
think so.
assuming they're going to learn more as we go on.
And I
You've got
don't
to
think.
think.
Go for it, Mel.
God. I was just going to say, you've got to think the time zone change is really hard on them as well, because I think it really affects how often they can even communicate with their families and whatnot.
Absolutely.
And I think that in itself, and them being away, and then the added longevity of Overwatch League is just really tough on everybody. And, when your mom and your girlfriend can't come and watch your match, it's not as exciting, and you stress more, and you get that you don't have anything else to do. So that's what you focus on. So I, I think once we get it a little bit more regionalized in different areas, I think we will start to see less and less of this. But I they've got to do something fairly quickly, because we can't just keep losing all of the non-North American character or
They
players,
they really need to. I mean, I don't know how to fix it, because gamers are often introverts, so they don't really want to go out lots of times. I mean, that's a stereotype, but it does ring true a lot of times, is that gamers want to be at home and they want to play games. But these guys have got to stop playing Overwatch in their off time. They really do. Like, they need to do, like, what professional sports player goes and plays, pickup games after they're done with playing in the league and practice? Nobody does that.
Well, I would say some of the superstars probably do that. Like the cream of the crop, the best of the best. They
When
probably
they're
are meant to do
sometimes,
that, and like they do
sometimes
grind it out.
they go above and beyond, like uh uh I'm blanking on his name, Chris Johnson, for the Bengals, like years back. He wasn't the most physically dominant player, but he was there 3 hours early every day and stayed 2 hours late. But he still had another life. You've got to have some some separation between work at and home, and that comes from me working in IT. Like I worked for 2 years at a job and hated my life because it was working at home and working at work, period. And it drove me a little crazy. So I can see how even this being a game, it's still driving them crazy.
But I
I
think you see a little bit more of the social aspect when they're streaming on Twitch or something. And before they went into the Overwatch League, that kind of was their social time. So it might be more of a way that they're unwinding and engaging, but it's just all kind of stacking up on top of each other because they're unwinding the same way that they're winding up. So it's kind of meshing together and we're, not able to get out of that funk. So I don't know. They should have a day of rest.
I do agree that it's very tolling for them, and I think that for a lot of them, this has to be a learning process, right? Because, like you said, Bob, before this was their social time. This is where they would hang out, their hobby, and it was a passion of them, rightly so. That's why they're so competitive and they're so good. But at the end of the day, it was part of their fun, right? And now it's become their literal job. They get paid to show up to their training grounds, practice with their team, have their coaches look at them, analyze their gameplay, and then go off and play matches against these other teams. So at that point, this is not their social time anymore. This is their job, and they're expected to perform at a certain level. They're expected to play the game a certain hours a week. There's no more I want to do this or I don't want to do this. Is no I have to do this kind of thing, whether I feel like it or not, whether I'm sick or not, whether I'm burnt out on the game or not. And all these factors do come into play. And Overwatch League has been a marathon so far. Since it started, it's been a lot of games every week, pretty much nonstop. And especially for the foreign teams or the foreign players that are coming into the US and have to basically live in a different country while adapting to this new job. I mean, I can tell you, I've moved to a different country and it's not easy. You lose a lot of the things that make you yourself when you move to such a different culture. And it takes a lot of time to adapt to that new place, to branch out again, to remake your social connections, to um, learn to eat the food and appreciate it, and for them to be able to call this place home. And who knows if they'll even be long enough over here to be able to do that, right?
Right.
As far as the
I
league
think
is
that's a
going.
huge point, is that they're not coming over committed to making this home.
Hmm.
They're kind of in this wait period. So they aren't making those connections. They aren't trying to build that social life. So they're just doing what they know and it's getting to them quicker than they thought. I also think the Korean culture in general has always had this higher expectation and work ethic for their gamers, from what I've heard and seen. So the longevity of Overwatch League is really getting to them because a tournament was one thing to put in that amount of work and effort. Now it's long time and they're in a different culture, they're in a different place. They're trying to come back home and you can't just take a flight for the weekend. You got to take a flight for a month.
Yeah, absolutely. And this might be a good point too for later entrance of Overwatch League. Because as the league evolves and teams become stronger and stronger, better players join the league, and the skill level increases, maybe one of the qualities that some of these teams are going to be looking for are very strong-minded individuals that not only are good at the game, but can thrive in that kind of environment, right? An environment where a lot of your social life gets stripped down, where you're going to have to be in foreign places, where you're going to have to adapt to all these things while maintaining that performance. And it seems like that's going to be part of the gig as well.
Yep, I think so exactly. I just heard an interview just recently with a coach talking about that. Trying to think of the name, but I'm blanking. But they're talking about not taking people that basically tilt is
Right.
in not so many words as what he used, but that's the word he was looking for, is people that do not tilt.
Absolutely. And that's a different kind of skill for that player. It's not mechanical, it's not strategic, is down to their personality, their core, and how grounded can they be through all this pressure, you know what I mean?
Believe me, I know.
Basically, Bob's not invited to the Overwatch League.
Believe me, I know.
Me too.
That's funny. All right, guys, that'll do it for news this week. That's a pretty cool conversation. I really enjoyed that. But let's get into some predictions for the next upcoming stage. We know that there's a big chance that the new Hanzo changes are going to be in. We know for a fact that Brigitte is going to be in. So based off on these assumptions, who do we think is going to thrive over here? What teams do you think are going to adopt some of these strategies? Maybe we can just go down the list from the league standings. So starting first, New York Excelsior, the top dog in the league right now, pretty much uncontested with an impeccable record of 27 wins and 3 losses. What do you think is going to happen to New York Excelsior? Are they going to adopt this new Brigitte strategy? Do you think that Jonak is still going to try to be their star player? They're going to try to protect him. Do you think we're going to see Sabiobi at all? Or do you think we're going to see more Pine now that Hanzo is becoming so strong?
Listen,
I think we're going to see
first of
Libero.
all, yes, Libero. But can we first talk about the Sabiobi video with him and his wife playing Overwatch? Have you guys seen this?
No, I haven't seen
Because
it.
it's like the funniest thing I've ever seen. It's him and his wife, and his wife's playing Tracer, first of all, which I think is hilarious. And he's playing Zarya, and he like graviton surges the entire team, and she goes and pulse bombs the team, and everybody dies. And you can just see him on Twitch, and he's like, ah! And he's like so excited and like giving her a high five. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
That's awesome. Very wholesome.
Yes, but for Overwatch League purposes, I read an article that he was saying he's probably not going to play Tracer, that he might play Brigitte.
Interesting.
Well, or maybe he was practicing Zarya to play Zarya. Oftentimes, DPS do play Zarya, so maybe he was practicing with his wife because he's like, well, I might be on Zarya. But Brigitte, I think, is a very big possibility for him, and I think Jonak is definitely still going to be the
On the Zen.
star, and he's going to be more protected.
Yeah, even more with the
For
Brigitte
sure.
now.
And
Absolutely.
Libero on Hanzo. Libero was already good on Hanzo. That'll kind of depend on if the changes go through or not. I think Hanzo still might get play though, even without the changes.
Gosh, how do you not play the world's best DPS though?
I'd be really interested to see what happens to Sabiobi if he's gonna assume another hero and he's still gonna be played as one of the people in the main roster, because that would go a lot to say towards like that player, right? Where he's not only one of the best tracers in the league, but in general just a monster of a player that the team is not willing to let go. They would prefer to put him on a different role than not having him on the roster. I guess we'll have to wait to see that, and to see if he can pull it off. Because I think that Sabiobi is one of the players with some of the best game sense in the game. That guy can orient himself even through the most crazy fight. He always knows where he is. He always knows where to aim, and he's extremely fast at it. And I think that that skill can translate to a lot of heroes, like Brigitte, for example.
For sure. I mean, I don't know who else I would guess would play Brigitte on their team, unless it was.
I
I
mean,
mean, they have 3 supports, I guess. Animo, maybe.
I think that
But I
right
think
now
we're still gonna see Mercy and Zen.
Yeah, I think that Jonak is definitely gonna stay on the Zen. And right now, who plays the Brigitte? I think is gonna be a question that every team right now is going to be asking themselves. Some people will put their flex DPS. Some people are gonna put their off tank. Some people are, I don't know. They might change it all around and change their roster completely. Who knows?
We will know on Wednesday.
Let's go into our next team. What do we think about Boston Uprising? One of the teams that is known to have the best dive, a team that had mastered in this meta game that we've been seeing for a while. now completely changed. Um, their tanks are not known to be the best frontliners, but they're known to be very sneaky and very well coordinated. So, do you think that Boston will suffer a big hit here? Or do we think that the strategy and the coordination that this team has been able to develop will carry them to this new meta?
Well, we know from the press conference after the Stage 3 finals that Note said that he was going to be playing Brigitte, but Kellic seemed like he was a little upset about that. Was like, why do you get to play?
I
So
think all the
that's
merch mains are upset that they don't get to play Brigitte. I'm in the same club with you guys.
yeah, and that's the diva player. You know, we're talking about all these tracers, but the diva players, there's a lot of good divas out there. They're going to be without a job also. So
And to be
I don't
honest, I
know.
feel like the Brigitte role is very similar to the diva role, where you have to decide whether you're going to peel for your supports or
Yeah.
go in with your main line. And, I think that kind of thought process is very much in line with how Diva had to think about things, where it's not necessarily dive to the back line, but it's death ball in with your team or peel back to save your Mercy and Zen or whatnot. So I think that might be an easier changeover, and then changing a DPS to Zarya, which we've seen quite a bit anyways, or Roadhog. And I think that, yeah, that might actually do it if that's what they're looking at.
I
Maybe
just don't
so.
know who's going to play Ryan. That's where it's a little weird there.
I want to mention two heroes for the Boston Uprising. They're not known for playing Reinhardt. I mean, I'm sure that they can play a Reinhardt, but they have not been known to play Reinhardt. Also, their Widowmaker is Mistakes, and although he's been doing a fine job, he's not by any means the top Widowmaker in the league. From stats, we know that Linkser, Carpe, Fleta, all those are the Widows that we're looking at. And to top it all off, their star DPS player after Dream Casper left, Striker, and the guy that we could probably say has been the person responsible for taking him this far is not gonna be on the Tracer anymore. So what is this guy gonna be on? Are we gonna switch him to a different hero? Are we gonna switch him completely? Because as far as we know, those are the only two DPS that this team has: Mistakes and Striker.
But I think they're still going to try and play dive as much as they possibly can. I think
But when
they're
you,
gonna. That's gonna be their trick there, because I think dive's still gonna work on levels with lots of high ground.
I agree, and we've been playing the triple support with our team, and there's certain maps where the composition is not the strongest for sure. Just a few come to mind, like Gibraltar or Dorado, especially on that second point of Dorado. Maps that have a very strong vertical advantage, and a lot of places where you can abuse the high ground are very, very tough for Brigitte, because even though she's very resilient and can make her team very resistant, she does struggle at range and high ground. She has no verticality whatsoever, and a lot of these heroes that are being played with her lack the same thing, like Zenyatta, like Reinhardt, like Zarya. All these heroes are ground heroes, man. You're not climbing any walls with these.
listen, that
Yep.
flail goes like 30 feet up in the air. So I'm just saying.
No need
No,
for
but
high ground then.
I think them sticking with dive, though, I think would be a really poor choice for them. I think they have to adapt somewhat. Not that dive won't ever be good, but we saw Boston adapt from stage one, right? So they didn't come into the league being an amazing dive team. They acquired that skill by practicing and getting better as a team and, you know, being very aggressive, which I think is going to be the hardest part about this switchover, is that they're one of the most aggressive teams. So them coming back and trying to play this slow roll Ryan Brigitte meta is going to be a struggle for them. And I think that's what we're looking at more so. Not that I don't think they can do it, but I don't think they'll do it in stage 4. I think they'll
Well,
do it faster than they did before because they're just better as a team
I
now.
think they're a good team. I agree with you. Like their strategy, their coaches are very spot on. but I do think that their playstyle they're really good at right now. It's completely opposite to the new wave of meta that is coming. So we'll really see how Boston fares. I really want to see them succeed. And if they do, I would be thoroughly impressed with them. If Striker can adapt to different DPS and mistakes can really step up to the podium, I would be very, very impressed by them. But I do predict that they might struggle near the beginning of the league. Let's go.
Listen, if they prove that dive is still a thing and it doesn't go out of the meta, I'm going to be really angry at them.
They
Come on.
break the meta and show everyone that Dive's still the
Right.
top dog.
Oh,
And
okay,
that-
let's do it.
honestly, I wouldn't be mad if they do it. If they show us a style to play Dive against the Briggite Deathball that works, I would be really happy though, because then that means that the rock, paper, and scissors are still alive. Um, let's move to these two lower teams. The number 3 and number 4 in the standings right now, London and Seoul Dynasty. And I'm gonna group these two together because I think that these two teams have a tendency to be pretty creative and to not be afraid to try out different things. They have pretty healthy rosters, and I think that their players are very flexible. Like we've seen Ryu Zhenghang, for example, go from their main support to their main tank.
Rio J
And
Kong.
yeah, and they're willing to take these risks, and they're the type of players that I think have really good coaching, very analytical in that sense, and are the type of players that can break the meta very fast and adapt to it very fast. I'm definitely looking forward to what Seoul Dynasty can come up with Brigitte. I think that maybe we'll see Ryo Zhenghang leading on the Brigitte if he's not doing the main tank role. But I'm definitely have these two on my sights.
Well, I think Ryu Jae-hong is going to be a really good Brigitte if that's the route they choose to go, because I think he's got the game sense. He's can lead the team from that kind of role.
Hmm.
And, you know, the crowd control kind of aspect of the stun and things is somewhat similar to the Ana sleep dart, where he can stop ultimates, and we all know how his reaction time is very good at doing things like that with a small little dart. So think if he's like can crush him with his body. Um, so I think that would be really good for him. I think the tank role we saw not very amazing tanks in the dive meta, but I don't think we've seen this death ball meta, and maybe we will see more in Reinhardt and less of Winston. So maybe we have a little bit of that going for them.
I also want to say that Seoul Dynasty had already been rocking the double sniper since before it was cool. You got Fled on the Widowmaker, which is cool. He's really good there. And then you got Wicked on the Hanzo, which he has already been playing the hero for quite a bit. And we've seen him switch to Hanzo in several places in the league, especially in that Koth or Junkertown. So I would be interesting to see what this team can really do in the new Brigitte Hanzo meta.
And I don't think you count out Rio J Hong going back to Anna and them dropping Mercy.
Or
If
even
there's
Zen.
no diva, on the other side, then Anna becomes really powerful. If there's no monkey, like basically the only shield is Reinhardt and Brigitte, and she needs to be behind them anyhow. So she becomes
Right. She's
really
not trying to
powerful
heal through everybody else on the other side,
Through-
diving the back line.
through diva, basically.
Right.
Like that was the big problem. Monkey and diva dive. You use Matrix, and then all of a sudden only Mercy or Lucio or Zen's orb can heal.
Yeah. I think Anna
Definitely.
might see more play in the meta for sure. She can also anti-heal the entire group, so Brigitte's healing aura basically
the
has no
grenade
effect.
is very strong in this meta. I do agree.
Yeah.
Her heals
It's
can
very
sometimes be
annoying.
finicky just because of the amount of shields that are around this time around. But definitely the tools that she brings to the table can be really devastating on the right hands.
But
Let's-
when Anna was best was in the Deathball meta.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
That's where she shines because she actually has time to respond to heals. Everybody has huge health pools, so it gives her like that little buffer time to get the heals up. Just because I feel like in general it's slower to heal with Anna, just because it requires you to react to it, fire the shot, then the shot takes some time to heal over time, and you can only pump so many shots into a person so fast, right? So
But you think about back when Anna was really good. Lucio was the other heal because also throw grenade. All of a sudden, Lucio's heals become OP
the
because
amp
there's
up,
so many people just right in that ball. So
absolutely.
Brigitte, same thing.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Let's talk about the LA teams, Gladiators and Valiant. How do you think these teams are gonna fare? Let's start with Valiant, and I'm gonna kick it off by saying that Valiant, out of the two LA teams, is in a rough spot a little bit. We've known that Soon has been able to switch off the Widowmaker, so as far as the Tracer player in this team goes, they're in a pretty good spot. Soon can definitely adapt there. But as far as some of the other players, like Agilities, for example,
Hanzo.
he's their Genji Roadhog player. Has he played some Hanzo? I can't really
I'm just
recall.
saying I'm not sure really. I'm just saying he's the projectile specialist and he's pretty awesome at all of those. So I'm
He's their
guessing he's pretty good,
projectile.
Hanzo.
I'm guessing that he might be put in the Hanzo role because we've never seen Soon play any projectile hero aside from maybe Pharah every once in a while. Although I think that Agilities is usually the Pharah person. Also, a team that's not been known for their Reinhardt play, but we do have a very strong support hero with Custa on the Zen. Who knows if
Well,
he'll
they
try to
do
go into
have
the
a run.
Brigitte?
They do have a run. He just hasn't played at all.
Who is the
He's
Rhine?
been
Numlock.
numlocked. We had him on the
Right.
show with Cuddles way back at the start.
It's your
And we've never
time.
seen
It's your
play. It's
time.
Numlock's time, dude. It's
Maybe it
his time to
is.
shine.
Finally to dust off the Rhine in the team.
And listen, if they don't bring him in, we're really gonna start the rumor mill here.
Now, another acquisition that did recently, Bunny, and that they've been playing quite a bit. You think he's gonna become rather obsolete here? Can Bunny be placed on the Hanzo as well?
The problem I think with most of the tracer specialists right now is that they have been tracer
Specialist.
specialists, just
Only,
like
yeah.
the Lucio specialists were for so long, right? Because you didn't never have to learn anything else because you needed to play that character all the time. So it's going to be really hard, I think, for a lot of these tracers to transition into a different role. And they might just sit the bench, just like a lot of the other players have sat the bench for, the last 3 stages.
Probably another reason why Effect didn't want to come back for stage 4 too.
It's like, you guys don't need me. I'm out of here. Let's talk about Gladiators, because on the other hand, I think that Gladiators is in a much better spot coming into this new meta game. Gladiators is a very creative team. A lot of their players like Surefour, Silk Thread, you got
Fisher.
Hydration, for example, that are super, super flexible and can play a lot of different things. Asher is a great tank. I know that he's mostly known as their diva, but I can bank that he can play a mean Zarya
No,
as well.
Asher's the
Tracer, right?
Asher's a tracer.
Oh, my bad.
Fisher.
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 Fisher's the Winston Ryan. Fisher got 2 Reinhardt ultimates in 6 seconds in the finals, I think, or in his in his game. 2 in 6 seconds.
Lee Jang Tower, was it?
I watched a video on it. It was crazy.
I think that Gladiators will be looking good just because of the creativity and the ability of their players to play so many different roles. I think that they're also a team that has a very positive mental attitude. Out of all the Overwatch League teams, they always seem to be in a good mood. They always seem very respectful to one another. No drama coming from this team, and that's important. Coming into a time of change in the league, you want your team to be unified, to be able to talk amongst one another and decide what the new course of action is going to be. I think that, I don't know, this first week might be quite good for them.
I don't know. I think it's also very possible something we're not thinking about. A lot of teams moving their second DPS to a Zen.
Yeah, I think that that can definitely be, and it's hard to tell how some of these teams are gonna adapt. I think there's gonna be definitely a lot of role changes. Um, I think that we might still see some dive just initially, just because the compositions are so practiced. So they might just revert back to their comfort zone on certain maps and run that. But as the stage progresses, I can see a lot of players swapping up their role or their hero quite a bit.
Yeah,
Let-
because I mean, most teams had a really decent Zen. I mean, they weren't getting very far if
Yeah,
they didn't. So, except for Ryujie Hong, who kind of did all right on Zen, but swapped off, I think most players were pretty happy with their Zen. I don't think we're going to see Jonek moving roles here anytime soon.
Yeah, we're not gonna see Jonek, but I could see it with a lot of other ones, and you might start seeing a lot of Jonak-like Zens because you've got a projectile DPS on Zen now.
Yes, but they can't be Andres-like, where they forget to heal at the same time. They
That,
have
that,
just
that will be a
you just
struggle.
had to bring that on the show, huh?
Yeah,
put
Andreas plays a Zen for us one night. He's playing on a character in Platinum, and then Overbuff the next day has him in the 99th percentile in every kill and damage category, and in the 1 percentile in every healing category.
it was
Even
like
his
opposite ends.
Transcendence healing
Yeah.
showed
was less
signs
than
that he popped
1%.
it. He would have had to have popped him every time after the majority of the team died.
or to save myself, you know.
Yep, save
Yeah,
yourself and let no
So you
one
could
else.
keep killing people.
Listen, the true
Oh.
heart of DPS carry, okay?
Yes.
It was hilarious though. I have to post that on Twitter because I went to check my stats. I was like, oh my god, I'm a terrible healer.
Oh.
All right, guys, let's go into Philly Fusion and San Francisco Shock. How do we think these teams are gonna fare coming up next stage? Let's start with Philly Fusion. Fusion, again, a team that's been known for their dive. They have a lot of really dive-centered DPS with tons of tracer specialists. We got Shadowburn. We got also EQO on the Genji. Carpe is known for his Great Widow, so he's looking like the best one coming up next stage to take on that
And
role.
Also, Tracer. He was an amazing Tracer before
Yeah,
Snillo came along.
both him and Soon are actually quite nice because being able to transition from Tracer into Widow actually makes him relevant in both metas. So it might be something that some of the other Tracer players might want to keep in mind because Tracer has been so stable the entire lifetime of Overwatch that nobody has even bothered not learning her, right? There's always been like, you play Tracer, that's the only thing that you do. But now that for the first time ever, Tracer is looking unappealing, a lot of these players are kind of being like, ooh, what do I play now?
Yeah, and I mean, you gotta remember, Fraggy is gonna get to play some
Yes.
more Reinhardt, and that's gonna be pretty exciting because
Yes.
Fraggy's my favorite Ryan.
From the perspective of a main tank, Fusion is looking quite good because I would argue that Fraggy is one of the best Ryans in the league, if not the best. His playstyle is also super conducive to this death ball style because he's super aggressive. He will get on your face and not die, and then get a shatter in like the first like 15 seconds of the match, winning you that battle. So on the front line, I think that Fusion is looking quite good. On the DPS, I think that they might have to adapt quite a bit. But we also know that they have a pretty good Zarya. Shadowburn can play a pretty good Zarya, so they can swap there if needed as well. And their support line, Boombox, it's a pretty good Zenyatta. And who do we think is gonna play the Brigitte for them?
Oh
Assu-
no, man!
Baby Bay's gonna find his way back in. He's like, let me
no,
play.
we're talking about Fusion. We're talking about Fusion.
Oh, okay.
Maybe he'll find his way into
Sorry, I
Fusion.
walked
who knows?
away. He might.
For support, the Fusion has Neptuno, Joe Meister, Boombox, and Dayfly. But I don't think we've ever seen Dayfly play so far.
I'm gonna go with
Um,
Poco. I'm thinking that the majority of teams are gonna go with their Diva player as their Brigitte
Brigitte,
player,
I could see
or
that.
and they're gonna go with a DS as either Zarya or Zen. It just depends on the team, but I think Poco will go Brigitte.
I could definitely see that. What about San Francisco Shock? They kind of had a moment of brilliance at the end of the last stage. They won a couple of matches there. They impressed a few people. Architect is playing out of his mind. Very flexible player, although we've mostly known him so far for his Genji, which again, I don't think we're gonna see a lot of Genji, much like Tracer, starting the stage. So where do you think this team's gonna go? Because we have a lot of Tracers and Genjis in here. We got Sinatra, we got Dante, we got Architect. Will IDDQD see some time, so some playtime?
I don't know. Maybe it's a good question. I haven't seen IDQD since preseason.
We haven't seen IDDQD for a
Nobody has.
while, and we know mainly is because Baby Bay has been playing that hit scan role, and he has also been assuming a leadership role. But we've seen a lot of matches without Baby Bay in the past few weeks, so I don't know if they're relying on that leadership from him as much anymore. But that being said, if they do need a Widow, do you think they will go with Baby Bay or IDDQD?
Baby Bay.
Carpet. No, dang it, I'm on the wrong team. Uh,
Dante.
I think they're gonna go with Architect on Hanzo.
I could see that.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the Widow. I'm guessing Baby Bay.
Now, it's worth noting that Sleepy, their support player, has been one of the few players in the Overwatch League who has been very vocal about not wanting the Hanzo changes to be on for next stage. He's not a big fan of putting the Hanzo changes on, and as a support player, I could see this kind of being a problem because you're not used to playing against the Hanzo at this level. I'm sure you might be getting killed a lot in places where you were not used to getting killed by him. So I don't know. I don't know how they're gonna fare coming up next stage.
Yeah, Hanzo's rough, but I don't see how Hanzo's any rougher than Widow
Right. Well,
as a support.
you do have a giant dragon that deals damage in a very large area that you don't have with Widow. And you also have Storm Arrow, which you also don't have with Widow. But
But you
as-
don't have Storm Arrow yet in Overwatch League.
we don't know that. We don't know
I know.
that.
Okay, let's move on and talk about the best team.
All right, I'm gonna group the last three, the bottom of the barrel. Let's just group them together.
Did you
Dallas-
just skip Houston?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm
you
so
just,
sorry.
You just did that
I
on purpose.
totally
didn't
did.
you?
I totally did. Houston Outlaws. I think this is another team that is gonna be looking good coming up next stage. I think that Houston Outlaws has already been looking forward to the Briggite change, and they have already been practicing a lot of new comps. This is a team that has never been afraid to try out different things and swim against the current. It's a team that has not been afraid to place players like Jake on Tracer, even though they knew he was not the best player in that hero, but they're willing to let their players learn and adapt, and they're willing to try out new strategies. I think they're very creative. Their coaches are very good. And if any of the Dallas, or not the Dallas, the Texas teams are gonna do well, I think it's gonna be Houston.
I think Jake's probably gonna show everybody that Junkrat's really good in this meta.
And
I
Linkser's
agree.
going to show off his amazing Hanzo abilities.
I think I
Oh.
think I think Linkser stays on Widow because I think a lot of people are gonna try and shut down the Briggite comp with a Pharah, and Zen and Mercy damage boost and Widow one body shot and she's down. So
I just think if you've seen Linkser's Hanzo and the Hanzo changes do make it in, I think we'll see him on both.
you think he'll be taken out? I'm curious to see how good
Taken
pros
out?
are at taking out. Sorry, I didn't get to complete it. At taking out Pharahs in the air, because I'm wondering if they're just a lot better than everybody else. With the high tick rate servers and basically no ping, they're gonna be able to possibly take them out with Hanzo.
Yeah, I feel like he's just going to look up at them and destroy them with his eyes vision. So
I do think that it's gonna be really strong having a player that can play both Hanzo and Widowmaker very proficiently and can swap between those two because it's a role that could be interchangeable in this meta. On some maps, you might want to have both depending on what composition you're trying to run. But at the end of the day, having a person that can go full ham on the Hanzo and then if the Pharah is giving him too much trouble, can just swap to the Widowmaker and kill her. I think that it's gonna be really strong in this meta. And then having a second DPS like Jake, who could maybe flex into Junkrat or a Brigitte as needed, I think that would be really strong as well.
Yeah, I mean, Bonnie mentioned last week that pretty much everybody was practicing Brigitte, but that Boink was the one practicing mainly Brigitte because they were looking at that triple support meta. But I'm just curious to see how this all plays out because I think we'll see, maybe we'll free Mendo and get to see some Mendo.
No,
Maybe we'll-
no. We're gonna get to see some Spree though.
And
We
some
will
fact
get to
fiction.
see some Spree, probably some more fact fiction, but
And of course they'll try to play Clockwork someplace. They'll probably put
No.
Clockwork on,
I don't
on
think so.
Hanzo, knowing
I
that-
think Kaikai's coming in and is like, "You're done. I don't know why
Yeah,
you're
I'm,
here."
I'm sorry, but if
Oh, Kaikai's
Clockwork
coming in
didn't
and be
see-
like, let's do this, and let's change this, and let's change this.
And they're like, "Dallas."
No, I don't think we're gonna see
Oh,
much
excuse
of Clockwork, and I don't know how much Kai is gonna try to change things. He just got there. I'm sure he's not trying to break the culture right away. It's not like Houston has been doing too bad. But no, I do think that Houston has the tools to thrive in this meta. I'm looking forward to them. I think they're gonna be one of the leaders in shaping this new composition. Alrighty, down to the last three: Dallas Fuel, Florida Mayhem, and Shanghai Dragons. These guys have been struggling so far in the dive meta. They could not find their stride. We saw some signs of improvement towards the end, but still nowhere near where their counterparts were: New York Excelsior, Boston, Korean teams in general. Do we think that these guys are gonna have a chance coming up next stage? And let's start with Dallas Fuel.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
Hey, you seem very convinced that they're gonna do good over there, Bob.
OGE is a good Reinhardt. Siegel is a good Hanzo. Mickey could probably be a good Brigitte. I don't know, man. I really don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to think.
So Fuel is in a really rough spot right now, and coming into next stage, they're kind of broken from the inside. They just lost one of their coaches, one of their star DPS players will not be playing with them this stage. Not to mention all the other troubles that they've been having even before all of this happened. I think that the team itself is kind of shattered to pieces. This can be a good time to rebuild, to work something new from the get-go, but I think that the team itself has bigger problems than just a change of meta, and I really don't know if those problems are gonna allow them to find their groove coming up next stage. Honestly, my prediction is that how it's looking, they might be the first ones to fall to Shanghai Dragons.
I say just let Harry Hook play Reaper, run straight in their face, kamikaze. That's what I say.
Good call. Good
Yeah,
call.
you
Hey,
should.
dude,
You should.
Harry is a bad Reaper. Like
You should apply
really good
for
Reaper.
head coach of Dallas Fuel. I heard that they're looking for one.
Yeah, I should put my name in that hat.
I think the Fuel has more issues than the changing meta, so I don't think we're going to see them excel.
I mean,
I do,
Okay,
however.
I do think we're going to see them excel more than they were. Like, this is definitely the meta for them. I just don't think, I mean, they don't have a chance to make the playoffs. I mean, I guess they could get stage 4 playoffs, cool, but this is definitely a good thing for them as they are known for the slow comps, and Deathball is what they made their name with Envious. So this will
Now- I'm
not
definitely be a
saying-
good thing for them.
Right.
I-
I'm not saying that the meta isn't going to be good for them. I'm saying the meta change isn't enough to make them a good team yet. I think there's more that they've got to do behind the scenes to make sure
Right.
that gets to where they need to be. However, Shanghai, yes,
Yes.
This is their meta.
You think it's their time to shine?
Their time to shine. They're on an even playing field. They've got some really great people. Gaguri's going to be on Zarya. It's going to be glorious.
I
That
think
would.
you're drinking the space Kool-Aid too much. Space told us that he thinks they have the best chance, but I really don't think so. I do think they're going to get an upgrade in Giguri going to Zarya. I think that's definitely going to be an upgrade because everybody talks about her diva, but I really don't think it's that good. So I think her Zarya is going to be amazing. So I
I
think that's a
wasn't
big
saying they were
upgrade.
going to like win. I was saying they were going to win a game.
Yeah, I
we're gonna
mean,
rain
just
down our expectations here.
like really, I think that's a high probability because the meta is going to be so weird. So, and they're playing a team that's really hurting right now in the Dallas Fuel first day one.
Yeah, that
So
is their first game, so I'll be
Confidence
looking
booster.
forward to that one. That might be the day for Shanghai Dragons. There's gonna be a party if they win, and I will feel very sorry for Dallas Fuel too. Alrighty, last one, Florida Mayhem. Florida, out of all the teams in the bottom spots, seems like they might actually do the best, in my opinion. They already have a very solid Reinhardt, and Logic.
Tavik so
Yeah, Tavik is a very good flex player, and
Tavik
Logic's.
so Hanzo. He's so good at Hanzo and he loves him.
He's very good at Hanzo. Have we seen Logic swap to Widowmaker? Am I imagining this? Or he's been
Logic's
mainly.
yeah, Logic's is their widow pretty much.
Exactly,
Saya
which
was doing some of it, I think, but to be quite honest, I haven't followed them as good in stage 3, and I'm hoping to follow them more in this stage because I'm hoping they're an actual contender.
I think that Florida Mayhem has a lot of really good players, but the dive meta was never exactly their forte. They could never really find like that really coordinated dive that some of the other teams did. But individually speaking, their players are really good mechanically, and I think that the slower pace of the game will allow those players to get a lot more done than they've been able to do before.
I'm pretty excited because I'm a Tavik fan, so
He's a
I'm
fun guy to watch.
yeah, I'm excited to see him play Hanzo because I know he loves it, and he's been good at it in the past when it did work out on in certain metas.
Do you think that if they start winning more games, they'll up their intro walks again?
I really hope so because I'm very
Me too.
disappointed that they've kind of let that go, and it's because Swoosh hasn't been playing with them. I'm pretty sure that he was leading that cause.
Well, I think they decided not to do them when they weren't doing very well because they came out and said we're going to focus more on our game and less on our introductions. And I thought that was a big mistake at the time, but
Very, very big mistake.
Yeah, I think I would love for him to bring it back just because it was funny. But all memes aside, I think they have a good chance of looking a lot better this stage.
We know that they've been improving on their coaching staff as well, so we might be coming with rejuvenated Mayhem coming up this stage.
yeah. Silver Loki also asked in chat if we think we'd see more Zappas from Florida in this stage.
That could be interesting. He's their flex player. I know that we haven't seen
Mhm.
much of him. We could maybe see him appear in the Zarya or the Brigitte. I don't know. I don't know exactly how
I
their
don't
internal
know.
workings go.
Yeah, to be quite honest, I don't know much about that player really at all.
All right, guys, that'll pretty much do it for all the teams. That's kind of our predictions for coming up the stage. I know that we're kind of taking some artistic liberty discussing here with the Hanzo changes being in, but hopefully Blizzard will come to their senses and release it with the Hanzo, as I think would be a lot more relevant for the rest of the population, including for us. It would be a little bit more engaging seeing how the pros play with this new meta. And honestly, I don't think it would be too hurtful for the players to have the drastic change in this case. Anything else you guys want to add before we close out the show, guys?
I'm just excited. I just want it to be Wednesday.
Yeah, I hope we don't have to come back next week and be like, so Nick's last episode, what we're going to talk about today is what really
The
happened.
dive meta. This is the dive meta. This is why the dive meta works.
We'll
No,
see.
I'm
We'll
excited. I've been craving some Overwatch League, and it's been so long, I feel like.
Yeah, we're getting Overwatch League withdrawals over here.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. As always, you can join us on our High Noon Pick'em League. You can go to highnoonpickems.com. You can go to the featured area and you can find the Owl Recap League right there. If you want to compete against us coming up at stage 4, make sure to join the league and get ready to pick. Also,
Is
if
it
you want,
restarting?
I
Is
don't
it
know.
restarting in stage
I'm
4?
I'm not exactly sure.
It's not restarting. There'll still be the full score, but you'll be able to click the stage and just see the score for the stage.
Oh,
So
there you go. You'll compete
we'll just
on the stage.
yeah, we'll basically compete on the stage. So we'll talk about that rather than the overall. We could go over the overall at the end.
at the very
Nah,
end.
we don't have to do that.
We don't have to do that. Yeah, Deathblow doesn't need to hear that. You can also find us on Twitter at Owl Recap. You can find us on Twitch at twitch.tv/OmnicLab every Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern. Come catch us live, interact with the chat, ask us questions. We love it. You can find us on Discord at discord.me/OmnicLab. And you can email us with any business inquiries, any sponsorships, or the sort to contact@owlrecap.com. As always, if you guys want to support the show completely free, you can send us an iTunes review. And today we have a very special announcement. We will be launching our Patreon. The website is up and ready to go. We have decided to start the Patreon because the show is something that we do out of a labor of love, but there's a lot of costs associated with producing it and creating the best content possible. And those include going to places like the Burbank Arena, the Burbank Blizzard Arena, so we can catch interviews. We can get you guys the freshest news out there. It's great for networking. It helps us get into the Overwatch League circles and get you guys even more in-depth content. And of course, all of that comes out of our own pocket, which we don't mind because it's super fun. We really enjoy it. But in order for us to be able to do it more consistently and more often, we have opened the Patreon. So if you guys like the show, if you guys like the stuff that we do and would like to see more of it and see it improve over time, that is the best way to support us. It will also help us improve the stream or gear or setup or mobile recording stuff or soundtracks or artwork. All of these costs, as well as hosting the website, the podcasting, publisher, all these things cost money. So it'll help us with all of that. So we would really appreciate it if you guys go check it out. It's going to be at patreon.com/Owl Recap, I believe.
Yeah.
Check it out. Support us over there. We would really appreciate it. Thank you guys for joining the show tonight. And we'll see you guys next week.
Bye,
Take
guys.
it easy, guys.